Good morning. Hi, it's Jane from the AAC Language Lab, and I'm here to talk to you today about a curriculum that we have developed for young adults. I'm going to tell you that I tried to reverse my screen this morning so that the print would be the correct direction, but it turned the whole entire camera blue. So I thought it would be easier to see everything, even though it's going to be backwards. But when you print it out from the Language Lab, it'll be correct, all right? Back in the day when I was in grad school, I was fortunate enough to go to Temple University, where we got a grant to start a program in assistive technology, and this is back in like 1990. And it was really before AAC was really well known. So I went to classes not really knowing what I was going to learn, but I had amazing professors. So I got to study under Dr. Diane Bryan and Dr. Amy Goldman at Temple, and I got to attend as a grad student a program called ACES, which is still going on today. So it's Augmentative Communication and Empowerment Seminar. But ACES is very exclusive because it's only held once a year, and it's 2 weeks where folks that use AAC actually go to campus, live in the dorms, and then attend classes. But it only reaches, maybe 15, 20 people a year, and this information was so important that I thought that maybe we could make it a little bit more universal and more accessible for more people. So what we did here in Arizona was we brought the ACES concept to Arizona, and we went to an adult day program where we did a variation of the program there. So our program was classes for adults who were using AAC. And it was classes that were talking about their dreams and what did they want to do with their life, because oftentimes we don't ask our folks that are using AAC, hey, what do you want to do? So we started with that component, and then we also had empowerment classes and computer access classes, which include things like social media and texting and all the ways that people communicate now. The other component that we added was training for staff, because in the adult day program, these were not, the caregivers were not necessarily trained in AAC, and maybe never had even seen anybody that used an AAC device before. So we went in and talked about best practices for being a good communication partner and what AAC was and some of those myths. So when you go to the BRICS curriculum on the AAC Language Lab, you'll see that that first level is in getting started is so that you can train staff. So they have a better understanding of how to be a good communication partner. But the main gist of the whole entire program and all the materials is the Dare to Dream component, okay? So the first thing that you would do, and again, you're gonna see this backwards because it's not working today on Facebook Live, but there's a questionnaire that you would work on with your student, and you can kind of start talking about like, all right, what do you want to do, and what steps do you need to take in order to realize that goal? And I will tell you, I have done this with adults in the adult day program, and I've done this with high school kids. And so some of the dreams may be a little bit challenging and not as realistic, but that doesn't mean that they're not useful. So I had one of my students wanted to work in the pit crew at NASCAR. Well, he was in a power chair and pretty much a quad, and that wasn't going to be a realistic goal for him. So we talked about his love of racing and how he could work on his writing skills, and he could work on reporting about those races and about the drivers that he liked and submitting that to the school newspaper, or submitting that, he could do that on social media. So we took what really interested him and we made that a stepping stone into something that he could actually do that was really useful. But we've had other goals where I worked with one gentleman who was this was back in the late 80s, early 90s, was going to go into a nursing home, and he was 27 years old, and there was no way that he wanted to live in a geriatric nursing home. And so we were able to help him use his device to tell the caseworkers exactly what he wanted. He wanted to live independently. What would he need to live independently? And, what kind of funding would he need? What kind of job did he want? And so we were able to put all that together for them. So even though you have a variety of different disabilities that can do this, and those goals might be lofty, that I want to go to college or I want to go to work. Some of the other goals were very simple. One woman lived in a nursing home and she was in her 40s, and she said, I want the remote control at 2 o'clock, because she was never allowed to control what was on the television. And so at 2 o'clock was her story. She wanted to watch All My Children. And so we were able to talk to the staff and help her realize her goal. So even though that was a more simplistic goal, it was still just as valuable for her. So what we suggest, once you fill out the questionnaire and kind of work with the student to kind of really think about it, is we make this an illustration. We create a dream board, and this dream board then can be it can be in the classroom so that student can see it and they can realize it. They can change it too if they want to, but basically what you're going to do, and I did one, here's my dog Zeus. So he's going to come up with his dream of what does he want, and then what steps do you need to reach that dream? What can we work on now to help you realize? Or, maybe we need to modify that dream a little bit, and that's okay too. But then, where are you going to live? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the area that you're in now? Do you want to live somewhere else? And then who are your support people that are going to help you? And what you try to do is then periodically meet and talk about that dream, and how are you going to do this? And how are you doing with your goals? Are you making those steps? Do you need to change your support people? Do you need to change your dream? But what was really fascinating at the adult day program that we did this, there was a gentleman whose whole job was job training. So he was working on making sure that at whatever level these clients were at, they were doing some type of job training, and he was able to take their dream boards and incorporate that into their individual service plans. And now they're all working towards their own dreams, which, guess what, makes them so much more motivated to do things. And so that way you can also talk about, reaching out to people and learning to use email, learning to use texting, learning to use social media, and how are you safe on the internet? So you can talk about that, and how are you safe on social media? And then you can talk about, well, you have to have a personal assistant with you. How are you going to tell them what your needs are? And so we kind of go into all of these little mini lessons that kind of build on making sure that they can be as independent as possible. So that is our BRICS curriculum. So if you look at the video that was posted, the link for that is on there, and you can go in and explore. If you have ideas for more lessons, there is a Contact Us button at the bottom of every page on the AAC Language Lab. Shoot me an email and say, hey, would you consider doing a lesson on whatever? So we just recently added one on voting, because guess what? This is an election year here in the United States, and if you're old enough, you have every right to vote, and you have every right to ask for accommodations. So we were able to bring in somebody from our voting commission here in Arizona and talk to the clients about, hey, this is how you register. This is what you can choose for your party, or you can be an independent, and talked about all of that, and they were wonderful. So everybody got to get registered. So check out the BRICS curriculum and try it out with your kids and let me know how they do. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at what you learn about each one of these students. And make sure you do the dream board, because that is probably one of the most important things, is for them to be able to visually see that they have a dream and what their dream is and how they need to work to reach that dream.